And at that time, it's kind of like the movies, right? When you hear somebody getting a bad diagnosis, everything slows down and you kind of fade out and you're just like kind of hearing what the doctor's saying, but you're inside your head going, "Oh my God, like this is me now," right? I'm affected by this. Now I have to go through it. And it's a scary thought, especially when you don't have any idea of what's going to happen. Chemo, surgery, hospitals, you're off work, mind you not, also, this is all happening in the height of COVID.
Welcome to the Driven Dad Podcast, where we celebrate dads that live with passion and lead with purpose. On this show, we'll host some dads that live incredible lives. Being a dad is the most important job you'll ever have. Get inspired by our amazing guest dads that refuse to live life in mediocrity and live epic lifestyles with their families. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is a passionate community builder and someone who's made it his mission to shape the next generation through mentorship and service. His journey is one of resilience. He's faced and battled through serious health challenges that have given him a deeper appreciation for life, purpose, and presence. His story is a reminder that strength isn't just about physical endurance, it's about perseverance, gratitude, and showing up for others no matter what. From building community to capturing life through his camera lens, Marc continues to lead with heart, grit, and intention. Welcome to the Driven Dad Podcast, Marc.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
It's my pleasure. So I want to say the fact that you're not a dad.
No.
But I want to dig in deeper on how you basically help out in your community and you become that kind of father figure for other kids in our community. I want you to tell us about how do you integrate yourself in our community in that way?
Well, that's a really good question. And for me, it came sort of like, I never had a concrete plan. Some people say, I want to have kids by the time I'm 30 or I'm 35 or whatever. Like, you have a plan. And I never really had that plan. So it was just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No big deal. But I'm 43 now, about to be 44, and it hasn't happened. So I found ways to kind of be helpful in other ways, mostly in youth organizations. So besides being involved with Big Brother, Big Sister, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm also vice president of the board for Atlantic Wellness, which is it's basically a non-for-profit that offers free mental health support for youth and, age 11 to, we just extended to 25. And we're looking to go lower because there is an identified need younger than 11 years old, believe it or not. And it's almost not hard to believe in the society that we live in now that, youth, young kids need that help, that support. So that's another way or another avenue. And I also am involved with an alternative education program through the Anglophone East School District called the Idea Center, which allows high school kids, grade 10, 11, 12, to explore more kind of creative learning. So a lot of these students are musicians, they're designers, graphic designers, photographers, videographers. They have passions for these things. So it's kind of my way to help and not being a dad, kind of, being on a Driven Dad podcast. But it's interesting because the involvement on Big Brother, Big Sister, or with Big Brother, Big Sister, it's only been about a year and a half that I've done that. But it's been very rewarding, and it just started kind of out of the blue, having a little bit of time to kind of give back, right? Where I don't have kids of my own, at least I can help influence someone else or help build up someone else through that participation.
That's amazing. So I'm curious, how does that program work exactly? I've heard about it on the high level, and I think it's great that you're doing that, by the way. It's super important to implement a father figure like you are doing in people's life that are missing that kind of factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does it work to get started?
Well, the program is a national program, so it exists across Canada. And they have local chapters. So Big Brother Big Sisters of Greater Moncton is the local chapter here in Moncton. And you have a small operational team, which with match coordinators, which are the people that find the matches for the littles, is how the kids are called. And basically, parents will register their kids. Usually there's a bit of a waiting list. And to be fair, the waiting list on the boys' side is a lot bigger. It's a lot longer. And basically they profile each child that comes into the program. They build a profile. And when you initiate your interest in volunteering to be a mentor, you'll fill in a simple questionnaire, kind of your background, all that good stuff. And then you meet with the match coordinator. They kind of do a little casual interview to kind of get to know you better and profile you as a mentor. And profiling sounds a little harsh, but just to get an idea of what could be a good match. And these match coordinators, they know the kids, right? So once you decide to move forward, because at that point, it's still just kind of consulting and figuring out if it's the right fit for you and all that, they will present you with 3 to 4 profiles, non-identifiable profiles. So you don't get names, you don't get any of that. You just get a general description of the kid, the situation, what's home life kind of like and stuff like that, without any identifying factors. And you get to go through that information with the match coordinator and go home with the profiles. And you can review them and kind of read them through and all that. And you make you basically you get to make a selection based on that. They don't force anyone on you, right? So for me, I ask, you can ask for a specific age range, you can ask for specific situations, you can ask for a variety of things because they have a lot of options. And then once you make a decision or a selection, they will then meet with the family of that youth and say, okay, we got somebody that's chosen to move forward, and usually you do a parent meeting, so you'll meet the parent first, and once everything is done and ready to go, you get to meet your little brother or little sister, depending on the case. And you start from there. And, a lot of people will say, well, maybe I don't have the time to do that. And it's not a super heavy time commitment. At the onset, what they usually ask for is about a visit or a hangout or an activity every 2 weeks, just to kind of build that relationship and build that kind of trust and get to know each other. And after that, it can be more or less your kind of at your pace, right? You can kind of coordinate and kind of feel it out, what works better for you and everything. But that's the big and small of it to get started. And that's how you get started. And I've heard stories of a lot of these youths that they are now mentors, having been through the program. They're still in contact with their big brother, even though they are now in the program being big brothers themselves. So it's essentially, in a lot of cases, it does create lifelong bonds and relationships that last beyond the program.
That's amazing. It's crazy how you don't necessarily see it today, but the direction where you're going to set off that kid is going to change the trajectory potentially for his entire life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun to see. And also it's fun to hear the feedback from those interactions. So for example, we got to speak at the AGM for Big Brother, Big Sister. And, we did kind of a little panel with my little brother's mom and him. And the facilitator or the kind of host asked what his favorite moment was so far. And what he came up with was we went to see a play at the Capitol Theater, and that was his favorite moment. And that kind of surprised me because we did a lot of different things from, hikes and going to do all sorts of things, right? Hockey games and all sorts of different things like that. And for him, that was a remarkable moment. And they asked me the same question. And for me was when I got to bring him to a Wildcats game, but we actually got to go in the tunnels. We got to go visit the dressing rooms and all that. And for those kids, it's an amazing experience, right? It's almost NHL level for them to see these players come out, they're 7 feet tall on skates, and it's, it's very impressive, and just to see the behind the scenes of it all. So it's always those memories that same as a parent, you build memories with your kids. Well, you build memories with those connections, right? By bringing them on, adventures or certain activities that they might not otherwise get to do.
Amazing. Once again, really good on you for doing that. I think you're making a difference in that kid's life specifically, but in general, you're making a difference. So I applaud you for that. It's cool.
Well, thank you. The program does make a big difference. There is still a big wait list for especially young boys to get mentors. The one thing that I learned through this process, and that I didn't know before, and that I feel a lot of people don't know, is that you don't have to do it individually. So you can be an individual mentor, so a big brother or a big sister. You can be a big couple. So if you're a couple and you don't have kids, and you're like, oh, well, it'd be fun to, mentor or have, that to help in that way, you can do it as a couple. You can also do it as a family. Even if you already have kids and you're like, hey, as a family, let's, mentor another youth, you can do that as well, which is kind of, I didn't know that. And when I found that, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I feel like a lot of people would have that want to help, but they don't necessarily recognize this is an available avenue and really easy to get involved in, right? It's like you said, the barrier to entry and the time commitment isn't a massive one, right?
No, it's not super massive. Like for me, every once in a while, usually I try every 2 weeks, but it doesn't always work out. But at least once a month, you reach out and you plan something. It can be an hour thing. It can be a 2 hour thing. It can be a half day thing. It's all up to you and your mentee or your little brother or sister. And it kind of gives you the creative avenue to say, hey, and you kind of figure out, what are you interested in? What are they interested in, right? And you get to show them different things. So for me, doing photography and all that stuff, he has a little bit of interest in that, being 9 still, but has a little bit of interest in that. And so flying the drone and going out and taking pictures and learning a whole bunch of different stuff. It's very interesting and rewarding to see when they learn something, or when they have that light bulb moment, go, oh, I didn't know that, right? You feel like a sense of accomplishment because you've taught them something, right? So,
100%.
yeah.
And I get what you're saying. Like, it's when my kids have a shared interest in something that I also love, there's like this super special thing that happens when you get to do it with them, right?
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying there. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And we're going in maybe a little deep here, but so having that experience with your little brother, has that made you reflect back on you not having kids like in your life? Does it make you feel like you missed out in any way, or does it fill your cup enough to like kind of replace that experience for you?
I think it's the latter. I think it gives me that outlet, and because, as we said at the beginning, I've never had that concrete plan like some people do of, I want kids by the time I'm 30 or 35 or whatever. It's not a major disappointment for me in any way, shape, or form that I've never had kids. But through this avenue, it allows me to give back and give a part of me that I otherwise wouldn't have a chance to give to a kid. And that to me is rewarding enough, right? And I don't sit there going, well, I didn't have kids, and now, for me personally, and this might be going a little deep as well, but I now can't because of the health challenges that you mentioned before. So I can't physically. That doesn't mean that I couldn't adopt or anything like that, but that avenue is closed for me in the natural sense of having kids. But it fills my cup to do that. It's very rewarding, and I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. My partner, my girlfriend Stephanie, also does it. She has a little sister, and at the beginning, when I started first, and then she did it not too long ago because she was involved with the board of directors at the time. And we've considered doing a big couple, right? Taking one child and doing it together. But then when we sat there and talked about it, we're like, if we each take one, we're impacting two instead of just double the impact instead of just one. And don't get me wrong, we still do things, all four of us together. Because they're very close in age and they go to the same school and they're from roughly the same area. So we do things, all four of us. So let's say we decide, oh, let's do an activity like the hockey game I mentioned earlier. Well, we took both of the kids together to go do that because it's something big and something special. If we go to something like Bourque at the zoo, we'll bring the two, and sometimes we'll split off in our different ways because the goal of the program is still to have that one-on-one time. So you don't always want to involve other people, but we kind of flex it and we kind of play it by ear and see, oh, is this something that's good to have everyone together? And then other times we're just doing our own things with each our littles. Yeah.
I love that answer, Mark. And I'll use this as a segue to cross over to something else, but you've mentioned something about the illness that you went through. It's been a few years now, I believe.
It's been 4 years going on 5.
years.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was 2021. Yeah.
So walk us through this. I've honestly never gotten the full story, and I'm interested, and I'm sure everyone's going to be really interested to find out what your journey through it and your journey afterwards was like.
And honestly, the journey through it is kind of what brought me to this kind of like mentoring mindset of, at least I can do something to help a younger generation. And also that generation is our future, right? When we're older and we're not working anymore and we're retired, they're the people that are going to be running this world, right? So if you have an opportunity to impact them, why not?
100%.
So basically in June of 2021, and I'll make this as brief as possible, I was diagnosed with a cancer. And at that time, it's kind of like the movies, right? When you hear somebody getting a bad diagnosis, everything slows down and, you kind of fade out and you're just like kind of hearing what the doctor's saying, but you're inside your head going, oh my God, like this is me now, right? I'm affected by this. Now I have to go through it. And it's a scary thought, especially when you don't have any idea of what's going to happen, chemo, surgery, hospitals, you're off work, mind you not, also this is all happening in the height of COVID, right? So
Double whammy,
right? You're already kind of like, oh, hospitals, right? Like,
Right.
And there's a pandemic going around. And anyways, so I connected with my doctor who helped me get the diagnosis, and very promptly was referred to a specialist who said, okay, we need to do a surgery right away to at least remove the cancer. And so I went for the surgery, all good. This was June 2021. And then, go back to work after the 4 weeks. July, August, I hear nothing. The specialist follows up with me and says, did you hear back from oncology? I said, no. So everything must be, good, because you'd think that if something was wrong, they would have called me by now. And he's like, oh, no, they should have followed up with you. He's like, it's definitely cancer. Like, you need to see oncology. He's like, I'm going to check in with them. And a few days later, oncology called, and they're like, yep, you need an appointment right now. Come see the doctor. It was like 3 days later. And when I went in again, it's like, oh, yeah, no, you need chemo, and you don't need chemo in 2 months. You need chemo in 2 weeks. So get your things in order, get your time off work and all that. Like, you're starting, right? Like, this was mid-August, and they're like, you're starting August 30th. We got you booked in already. Like, you're starting. And of course, that's kind of worrisome, right? You hear about people going through chemo and going through all this stuff, and you're just like, whoa, okay, again, that's me now. I have to face that reality. And so it starts, the process of it, and it's for a lack of a better word, it's brutal. It was a very intensive treatment course that lasted about 3.5 months, and this is like a schedule of 1 week of treatments. And then 2 weeks off, 1 week of treatments, 2 weeks off. And during those 2 weeks off, you're not really off. You are going for blood work, you're going for scans, you're going for follow-ups. and it starts all over again. And at the end of it all, I remember the day I rang the bell, um, November 16th, 2021. And you're like, okay, I made it through, right? It's over, it's done. And I went back home. And throughout this week, progressively, I started feeling worse, thinking that I was going to start feeling better. And by the Sunday after, I could not even put anything in my mouth without my heart going, "Bleh," like, nope, you're not doing that. And my mom was staying with me at the time just to help me out and drive me back and forth. And because if anyone listening has ever been through or had family members go through chemo, you're basically like, you have zero energy. I couldn't get up from the couch and go to the bathroom without being completely winded. And that's kind of a wake up call, right? Like, oh, wow. Yeah. Normally this wouldn't, like, walking to my bedroom is not going to make me feel like I just ran a marathon, right? But it did. So I end up having to go to the ER, and they took me in right away, obviously, because when you're doing chemo, you have certain parameters that if your temperature is over a certain amount, get to the ER. They started doing tests, and they're like, okay, well, your hemoglobins are critical, your platelets are critical, you have absolutely no immune system to speak of, so white blood cell count 0, and you have an infection, clearly, because fever and all the rest. So they're like, we got to start you on blood transfusions like tonight. We're admitting you, and you're going to be here for, we don't know, until we can tell you that you can go home. So again, scary, oh my God, like, okay, I'm stuck here. It drove my mom crazy because she couldn't even really come into the hospital. Again, COVID, right? So they took me in, put me in a bed right away in the ER, started with the blood test and hooked me to an IV to hydrate me and all that good stuff, and then brought me up to the oncology floor where they started that night. They're like, sorry to tell you, but you're not going to sleep tonight. And I'm like, whatever, do what you got to do. Like, I just want to get better. They started with blood transfusions, platelet transfusions, antibiotics, the whole bit, right? And when you get blood products and you've never had before, the first few times that you do, the nurse has to literally sit by your side while the transfusion is going on to make sure that you don't react badly or there's not an allergic reaction or any type of reaction. So they have to check your vitals every 5 minutes and check to make sure that you're alert and aware and all that stuff. So I got through the first night, Sunday, still feeling pretty crappy. Monday, same thing, Tuesday. And Wednesday morning, I wake up and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I'm feeling better today. Like, it's starting to pick up. And it kept going that way until Sunday when they kept doing blood tests, checking the numbers for the hemoglobin, the platelets, and all that. Finally, Sunday, they said, yeah, your numbers are stable enough. You can go home. So I was there for a week. And then you think, hey, great, it's over. I've been through it. You start feeling better. Hair is starting to grow back and everything goes well. And actually, at that time, it's kind of funny because that's when me and my partner met.
Okay.
Just before New Year's 2022. So again, you think you're done, everything's good, you beat it, it's great. I got a call in January from a doctor in Halifax saying, yeah, we are calling to put you in on our books for a surgery. And I'm like, what surgery? Right? And they're like, oh, well, the chemo didn't do anything to lymph nodes that were affected. They're still showing up on your scans, and we have to go in and remove them and make sure it hasn't spread. And I'm like, okay, well, I just went back to work and, oh no, well, you need to do this, like, because we can't guarantee what's going to happen if we don't do it. So off to Halifax, again, midst of COVID, no visitors, no parents, no nothing, just dropped off at the door and best of luck, And I got the surgery done there. That went very well. I was there for 6 days after due to protocol. They had to keep you for this particular surgery. And after that, then I finally found out the news that I'd been waiting for since June is like, hey, you are effectively right now cancer free. And then it's just been 4 years of constant follow-ups every couple of months, blood work, scans, all that stuff. And I am coming up on 5 years, which then will make my file be discharged. It will be considered a curative protocol, I guess they would call it, meaning that it's gone. It's not in remission. it's completely gone. And that's kind of like the difference between the terminologies. Remission will always mean that the cancer or the mass or whatever it is still there, but it is not moving, it's not growing, it's not spreading. So they would consider that remission, but it's still there. The core of the problem is still there. Curative means that it's not there, there's no trace of it, it's gone. So that's where I'm at right now, but it's still scary. I hear of people all the time that they go through their second battle or even sometimes third, and it's like, oh my God, like, I'm glad I got through it, but I wouldn't want to have to go through it a second time. So
That's a crazy story, Mark. I appreciate you sharing it, first
no
of all.
problem. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what, like, during the battle, what were you thinking about? Like, what kept you fighting? What kept you on a positive note? I know it was probably very hard to find a positive note at that time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But did you think of like one thing or some people in your life or something like that kept you fighting and kept you positive on a daily basis?
Yeah. The one thing that, like, I'm a pretty positive person just in general, right? But I'll tell you, when you're going through a process like that, positivity is absolutely very, very hard to find. The one thing that kept me going is when you looked at the treatment course, kept thinking to myself, like, there's an end date. There's a protocol. It's not like it wasn't a situation where they were like, we're going to give you chemo and we'll see where it goes. And we don't know when it's going to end or when or how or whatever. This was a clear-cut protocol, 4 weeks of treatments over a certain period. So there was an end date. So I kept positive in my head saying, there's an end date. This is going to finish, right? There's light at the end of the tunnel. It's not going to be like forever. And, but at the end of it, when you're like, okay, well, now you got to go for a second surgery, and you're like, okay, well, is this, the tunnel keeps extending, and you're like, okay, well, the light was there, but now it's over there, right? It's just gotten out of reach. You just got to keep going. My family, my mom, my dad, very helpful throughout the process. I live here in Moncton. They live up in Edmundston. And I always joke that, at 40 years old, my mom ending up moving in with me and living with me at my house, just to help, because again, no energy, there's no way you're driving yourself back and forth to appointments and all that stuff, and cooking for yourself and upkeeping your house. And like, it's not possible. So that kept me going, the support of my family, the support of my friends, I just pushed through it, and it wasn't easy. Like, to me, it put me in a depression. Like, diagnosed, I had medication and I had to take during the treatment, but it was a very much situational depression, because once everything was done and I was done with the treatments and I was starting to recover and feel better, that sentiment kind of went away slowly, right? Because now you're on the recovery phase and it's a little bit more encouraging. But through it all, there was times where like I didn't know if I was gonna, come out at the other end, or what was next, or what was gonna happen, and it can mess with your mind quite a bit.
A lot of fear of the unknown there, for sure.
Yeah, and there is a lot of unknown.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm curious, like, if you're gonna give some advice to someone about helping a friend, let's say, or a family member that's going through what you went through, or similar situation, how do you think we can help those people? Like, what would be the most helpful thing to say or do for those people at that time?
And you know what? That's tough for the other person. That's probably the toughest part, because you feel helpless. You're like, what can I do? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I don't have all the answers. What can I do? And what I would say to, whether it's a friend or family member that's dealing with it or anything like that, just keep being yourself. Like, keep being there for that person, offering your support in whatever way that you can. I guess without trying to be too overbearing or too much like, oh my God, you're sick, let me do all these things for you. And, but just keep being there for them, right? Because you rely on those people being around you and being there for you and just helping you out, whether it's just mentally or just being there for you for a few minutes, or a call or a text or anything like that. So it's that would be my my recommendation or my advice, don't try to be too much. Just keep being yourself as you were before all of this happened, because it doesn't change anything other than, yes, that person is feeling ill or is sick at the time, but your relationship or friendship or whatever you have with that person, just keep that as it is. And, they'll be thankful for it for sure.
Amazing. That's great advice. And second part to that question is, after this, so after you were done this battle, is there anything that carried over into your, let's say, the phase 2 of your life that has changed tremendously from before battling your battle with cancer, like mindset wise, the way you see things, the way you go to work in the morning, the people you talk to, your general demeanor, your positive energy? Did something change?
Some things did change. Other things stayed the same from before being sick and being diagnosed, because, as I mentioned, I was always a pretty positive person, try to see the positive in everything.
I'll attest to that, because I remember you. The reason we met was when I owned my CrossFit gym.
Yes.
You were selling some product to me for my gym.
Yeah.
And I remember you as being a very uplifting, positive, energetic person. So I will attest to that.
Yeah. And then, but, like everybody in life, you get opportunities and you're like, oh, well, not this time, not right now. So one thing it brought out for me is just say yes, right? Like, without burning yourself out. Obviously, there's limits to everybody, and you can't do everything, and you can't be everything to everybody, or all that stuff. But take opportunities as they come to do things maybe different, or to explore different things. And for me, there's a lot of things that happened after. So I met my partner. We've been together coming on 4 years now this year. And I had a change in career from being with Denis Office Supplies to now working for the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton as the Director of Membership. And that really brought me into a whole different role of being a relationship builder, a relationship keeper, or, just fostering relationships between businesses and collaborators and all that thing in the community of the Greater Moncton business community, right? So it opened a lot of doors in that sense. Just that little shift in career really opened up a lot of doors. That's when I started getting involved with Atlantic Wellness. And that's another thing that changed, is how can I give back? I feel like before I was doing things for me, but I wasn't necessarily giving back. I wasn't volunteering much. I wasn't really doing anything like that. And after, it was like when those doors started opening, I'm like, yeah, I should, really try to get out there. And when you pick something, you have to kind of pick what motivates you. So for me, it's having an impact on youth. So that's why Big Brother, Big Sisters. That's why Atlantic Wellness. That's why Idea Center, because it's all organizations that support youth and will build maybe a better future for us, right? And not being a parent myself, that was the best way I thought I could give back. And just to mention that all of those things are all volunteer basis. I don't get paid for any of that, which is something my little asked me one time. He said, oh, how much do they pay you for doing this? And I'm like, they're not paying me. Like, are you kidding? Like, this is me wanting to do this. Like, it's not a job. It's not, it's just me wanting to give back. So I said, no, they're not paying me for this. So that, I would say that's the biggest thing that's changed post cancer and recovery and all that, is just the want to give back within my capacity.
And that's debatably, like, ironically doesn't pay you in money, but it pays you the most in, filling your cup, right?
Yeah, that experience.
The feeling that you get from providing value and giving and helping people and making a difference in their life, that will likely be a lasting difference, for their entire life, possibly.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can pay you more than that, right?
No, exactly. You always have your job and that, or your career, or you're an entrepreneur, or you do whatever, and that's how you earn a living. But there's so much above and beyond earning a financial living, right? There's more to life than just getting up in the morning, going to work, earn your paycheck, and that's it. So to me, that's the part that fills that cup. It's really rewarding, and I enjoy it on all aspects of it.
Amazing. It's like when people ask me how much money I do with the podcast.
It's like you're like, no, I do it to fill my cup. I just do it to help other people.
So how do you make money with a podcast? Well, haven't figured it out yet. I'll let you know.
I'll let you know. Yeah. And you hear about people doing it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's definitely ways. But all that to say, that's not the why.
No,
right?
Exactly.
The why is, for me, is sitting down for people like you that are making a difference in the community, that have stories worth sharing. And hopefully by sharing your story on my podcast, you'll make an even greater impact for me, it's specifically geared towards dads, but whoever's listening in, if we can, influence one person in a positive way, then mission accomplished, right?
If even this inspires one person to, and not necessarily with Big Brother, Big Sister, or not necessarily with anything else, but just you have something that drives you, you have a passion, you can dedicate some time to that, right? You can give a little bit of time, and what you get back sometimes, whether it's karma or I don't know what you would call it, it comes back to you tenfold, really, because every time I go on an activity with my little brother, I drop him off and I feel like I made a difference, right? And the way I know that I'm making a difference is his mom's told me before, like, we're somewhere doing something and he sees something and he'd be like, oh, he's like, I think Marc would like that, So clearly it's there, and there's that relationship and that trust built. But also kudos to his mom, because it's a very easy relationship to have, right? Because no matter what, if you're involved with a youth organization like Big Brother, Big Sister, you're going to have to deal with the parent up until a certain age where that child or that kid is now maybe 14, 15 years old. They have a phone. You can call them, you can text them, whatever. Right. And then it becomes a little bit more direct. But when you're in the lower age range, 8, 9, 10, well, you have to rely on the relationship with the parent. And sometimes, in some cases, that relationship can be challenging depending on the parent.
Right.
Other times it's super easy. It's like, hey, what's he doing this weekend? Oh, nothing. Yeah. Okay. Saturday afternoon. Yeah, no problem. That's it. Right.
Yeah. One last thing on the same subject before I switch it up, but I think a lot of people need to keep in mind, like when you're, giving back in any way, whether it's, with Big Brother, Big Sister, or just, providing valuable content online or inspirational things online. I think we're geared towards looking for that instant gratification. So the like or the comment or the text message from the mom or whatever. But I think people need to know that if you are leading with the right intention, your impact will always be greater than what you'll find out it's been, right? Like, you're not going to necessarily have that mom tell you everything that you've done for her kid, right? So your impact is actually way greater than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind for us to stay motivated to keep doing those types of things.
Absolutely, because we are becoming a society where instant gratification through social media or through online interactions, or, you get that feedback almost instantly, and it can't always be that way. And I guess that is another thing for me that changed a little bit, is that maybe less seeking that constant immediate gratification on things that I do. For me, I want to leave a legacy eventually, right? I want to be able to be saying, when I'm 50 or 60 or retired or whatever, and still involved in things, and you do an intro like you just did, but it's like, oh, this and that and da-da-da. And it's like, okay, well, there was an impact there, right? So that's kind of my gratification on that, is knowing that long-term, this will all be worth it. And that's enough for me.
I love that word. I love that thought, legacy. It's one of my favorite things to to think about when you're, planning out your life and making your moves. Something you should keep in mind. There's one of my friends that always refers to a group that he's in, and they write their own obituary.
Wow.
Which
okay.
is kind of this, it sounds a little dark, but it's essentially what you want to leave as a legacy. Essentially, it's just, it makes you think about it more crucially or more directly, right?
Intentionally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I want to switch it up a little bit to the photography side. So it's one of our common interests, and it's kind of why we reconnected after I sold my gym and you've switched your career and all that. We kind of rekindled in the photography world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think initially I started to essentially follow you as a photography mentor, because you were I guess successful in the Instagram world in the earlier days. You were
before everything changed.
Yeah, exactly. But what I want to know is, like, what do you get from photography? Like, what really fires you up going out there? What do you like to shoot? What's your favorite stuff about that?
I like nature. I like to be outside. And that's what started me in photography was, you're going on a hike, you're going to do something, you're going whatever. I don't camp much, but you're going out there doing different things. And it started with, I want to like take pictures of that. And honestly, it started with my cell phone. That's what I was using. And then I started getting involved in like photography groups or meetups, and I'm like, well, I can't show up there with just my phone, So I started buying equipment, buy a camera. This one doesn't shoot RAW, and you're watching videos, and you're like, oh, okay, you're seeing the benefits of shooting RAW versus not. And you're like, okay, well, I need to upgrade my gear because I want a camera that shoots RAW, and I want to learn how to use Lightroom, and all those different things. And most of it for me has been self-taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been
the school of YouTube.
Yeah, the school of YouTube, man. It's that simple, and that's the power of the internet nowadays. Is if you want to know, if I don't know how to do something in Lightroom, ask Google. How do I, do this in Lightroom? And step by step videos. It shows you how to do it. A big teacher for me, and this is going to sound cliche because I'm sure people in the photography world will know this person. But I watched a lot of Peter McKinnon videos. And this was early on when all his videos were about like teaching stuff. And then he kind of shifted to more like daily vlogs, and which was still interesting. But when I started, the early onset stuff was always teaching stuff. Like, oh, this is how you do this, and this is how you create that effect, and this is how you use this feature in Lightroom, and da-da-da. So it was really a lot of learning through that, and a lot of experimenting. Honestly, just, doing that. And since then, it's kind of morphed a little bit. Like you said earlier, like early on Instagram, I grew quite fast, and I was involved in a lot of different groups and doing different things, moderating pages and doing content collaborations. I've done a lot of work with Tourism NB. I've done a couple of contracts with Rogers. I've done different things like that. The most interesting one of all being on a reality TV show, which was kind of neat, a competition reality TV show, which we can talk about if you want. But just different things like that, different experiences. It comes back to what I said earlier. It's like those different experiences that you might not always get. And now it's starting to morph a little bit more into not so much social media stuff. But I do a lot of event work, concerts, galas, any type of thing like that, because it's a new challenge for me. And we were talking about this before we started recording, about how, if you do a gala for a client and they're like, well, we want the pictures like tomorrow morning, and the gala ends at 10 p.m., you have to figure out how to work your gear so that you don't sit there all night for 2-3 hours editing pictures because you didn't get the light right, or So I've been teaching myself and experimenting with how to use lighting and flashes and in different scenarios, and how to make that work so that I can go home the next morning. I can flip through the 300, 400 pictures I took, maybe adjust the crop a little bit, do a little bit, this one's too bright, exposure down, okay, great, next. And then in 45 minutes, I can deliver 270 photos that are crystal clear, crisp, and ready for them to post and to share and to send to clients, sponsors, whatever. So it's a new challenge.
Yeah,
Right?
I think a lot of the excitement in photography is like almost not knowing if you can deliver what you promised a little bit, right? Like, you know, you could do it. You don't know if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And my first contract, that was the fun part. My first contract with Rogers, which was a few years back, and they're like, yeah, no, I can do that. I can take pictures and no problem and deliver. And I did. There's no issues there. But there's always that little voice in the back of your head going like, but can you do that?
Yeah.
Are you sure you can do that?
Mm.
And you do it. You learn how to do it. If there's things that you get stuck on, you rely on the community. You can ask other photographers. You can ask, and it's funny because in my professional job right now, we do a lot of events with the chamber, and one of our photographer that's often there for us is Daniel Saint Louis. And we have a running joke that every time I see Daniel, I have at least one question for him. Like, I'll ask one question and that's it. That's all I'll ever do. But Daniel's an extremely seasoned photographer, and he's a great person to be able to be in his ear when you have a quick question.
Yeah,
like, hey,
100%.
how would you deal with that? And then you get the answer from the community. And the community of photography, as you would know, is a very supportive community. It's very collaboration over competition. So that's one thing I like about it.
One of the things that I really love about photography, and this is art in general, but you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's not like a one-way highway. It's kind of like you edit your pictures. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Perfect. If I like your picture or I don't, doesn't matter, right? It's not like you edit it the wrong way. It's just you edit your pictures one way. I edit my pictures the way I like them. And that's what's really cool.
It's subjective, right?
Yeah. Any artist would totally understand. It doesn't matter if you paint or you take pictures or you build sculptures. It's all the same thing. It's like, as long as you love what you do, you're doing it right.
That's it. And I've had experiences where I've had people that I've been following for a long time, seeing their pictures and be like, God, I wish I could do that. And then somewhere down the road, for some reason, they reach out to me or we connect and they're like, oh my God, I love your work. And I'm like, really? Because I love your work and I wish I could do what you do. So it's just like, you never realize, and in anything artistic, you would know that too. You are your own worst critic. You look at a picture and you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe it'll be all right. I don't know. You post it and then you start getting people like, oh my God, this is great. And you were sitting there going like, oh, I thought this was a dud.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really like that photo at all, but you just give it a try, give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you get the most amazing reactions and you just think, okay, well then maybe I should dial down my criticism a little bit. And because for yourself there's the emotion, like the emotional part of, do you like the picture for an emotional reason, or artistically is it a work of art, right? There's like two divides there, which like some pictures, let's say of my family or like family trips or stuff like that, emotionally they might be some of my favorite pictures, but not necessarily some of the best pictures I've ever taken, right? That there's that sentimental value to it. One thing I learned along the way too is that at the beginning, a lot of the times you're trying to create for others. You're like, what will people like? No. What do you like? Create what you like. And then the people that like that will like what you create.
Yeah. Then it'll build like an authentic brand, right?
Yeah.
And stay on brand with what you love to do and what you're good at.
That is one thing I love doing too that's challenging about photography is storytelling, right? In a series of pictures. And I'm doing that now for the second year with an ambassadorship with Toyota Atlantic. You've worked with the brand before as well. And it's challenging because your deliverables, they have to follow a certain kind of criteria, right? Oh, you need to have at least 3 product shots. Your caption needs to be about not what features your truck has or what features why is this a good vehicle for Atlantic Canada? That's what the Toyota Atlantic wants to know. So you have to think about captions that relate that information. You have to think about content that will be pictures that will tell a story that are relevant. So that's been a challenge too. That's been fun to do that. And it pushes you outside of your comfort zone, which is also very important in the creative space, is You can stay in your lane and do the same thing over and over and over again, and it's perfect and it's fine. Or you can step out of that a little bit and go, okay, I've never done that before, but I'm going to learn how to do it.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
So, yeah.
I really love the part of like, we've done this before. We went out on the shoot, well, a couple shoots, but the most memorable one was when we went to shoot the eclipse.
Oh yeah, that one was wow.
So like kind of like physical collaboration where we did our own thing, but we were all kind of like, hey, what are you doing? Are you shooting from this angle, that angle?
What's your setting? What,
That was a lot of fun. And that goes back to like assembling with like-minded people, right? In every aspect of life, it's always fun to gather with the people that are passionate about the same things that you are.
That one was a really cool one. The other one I really liked was when you were doing the My Toyota series. And we did two. We did when I had my Tacoma, and then we did one with the Tundra in downtown Moncton. Not really a plan or anything. We just kind of booted around. Oh, let's stop here. This is a great location. Let's go on top of the parking with the tower. And so like, and having the two minds kind of like being like, oh, we should do that. And like, those are the rewarding type of things. And it's not always about money. Like I'm not going to lie, I do paying jobs. You know, people hire me to do events, people hire me to do different things. But then there's stuff like at 15 in Dieppe, 1755. My cousin's husband is the fiddler for 1755. And it was their last 15 in Dieppe. And I said, I'm going to give them souvenirs. I'm going to shoot that show with their permission. I took pictures of that show and I didn't charge them a dime. I said, nope, those are your pictures. They're souvenirs.
There's definitely a sense of pride in the work that we do, right? Like when we take pictures, yes, it's like you said, there's certain things you wouldn't shoot if you wouldn't get paid for it because there's no like passion for that specific event necessarily. But something like you just mentioned where there's just a cool factor of saying like, you know, this moment needs to be frozen in time.
This needs to be
preserved.
remembered.
No, super cool.
And that was a neat experience. Kainzoo, there was like over 20,000 over
crazy
for
vibe.
sure. Yeah. So that was like, wow.
1755 or 1755 for those of you that aren't French Acadian. This is like
Acadian royalty. Almost.
Yeah, exactly. The Rolling Stones of Acadian music.
Atlantic Canada, Acadian music.
Those guys had quite the run.
They have had a long run, and they capped it off at the Capitol with 6 shows, I think, 6 nights almost in a row.
I think it's time that they stop.
They have their legacy. It's built. It's
exactly
good. Generations to come will sing those songs, so we're not gonna forget about them anytime soon.
Exactly. Stop while you're ahead.
Yeah.
So, Marc, before I let you go, I have one last question, an important one. So, if your Kingsley, I forget the name of the association now.
Big Brother.
It's on
the Twitter.
If your brother from the Big Brother Association, Kingsley, or any person that you've mentioned that you've had an effect on or mentored, could take away any lessons from their time with you, what do you hope that would be?
Oh, wow. That's a deep one. I think that as long as the experience was positive, right? As long as I was able to either teach something or maybe offer them an experience that they otherwise wouldn't have had, because in this program, each situation is different. There's some kids that have a different need. In my situation, it's I would consider it more on the normal, easier side. It's more about having a male role model involved in his life. There's other situations that are a little bit more complicated, a little bit more, harder to deal with. But at the end of the day, as long as the experience is positive, that there's good takeaways from it, that I can teach something or that I can offer value, and a value that will stick with that person for, as long as they're around, and also the longevity of the connection, right? So for me, it's not a temporary thing that I'm looking to do for 2-3 years and then I'll move on to something else. And I've been asked that by him specifically. And I've said, there's no clock on this. Like, there's no time limit, we do this for as long as we want. Hopefully we do this for as long as we're alive, right? We can keep this connection going, even if we graduate out of the program, which is what they call it, when the program no longer needs to support, and that can happen anytime, right? When it's deemed that the program is no longer needed in that specific connection, you graduate from the program, which eliminates a little bit of barriers because the programs do have strict rules on things that you can and can't do. But, you know, maybe later in life when he's a teenager or almost a young adult, we say, okay, well, we can step out of the program now because we can give that opportunity to somebody else, right? And I guess the one thing that I would like to see or love to see if ever it happened is if he became a mentor because of his experience later on in life when he's, you know, 20, 21, whatever age you can start doing it. If he goes and does it, then I've done my job right? Or not a job, but I've done my part right.
Amazing. I really love that answer. That's awesome. Well, Marc, I really appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you being the person that you are, inspiring specifically the youth in our community. You're really making a difference for them. So for that, I thank you. And once again, appreciate your time for coming on the show here with us.
Well, I thank you for having me. This has been a fun experience. I really enjoyed our conversation, and it just goes to show that all these things that even we have some of these things in common. You're a dad of a few kids. I'm not, but through those things, we get to share value, I guess, in the things that we do.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's 100% my pleasure.